This is CLM tutorial 4 for Slippery Chicken. Here we're going to talk about independent tape parts. In particular, how to create a computer player in the ensemble, how to place that computer player in the rhythm seek map, using the computer player in the call to CLM play, and excluding the computer player from MIDI and score output. So what do we actually mean when we're talking about a computer player? Well, we're not thinking about someone sitting at a computer playing with, say, the flutist or the oboe player. We're just talking about a virtual player in Slippery Chicken for whom notes will be generated by the call to make Slippery Chicken, but which are then only used in the call to CLM play. This can be used in the score if you wish, or excluded. It's completely up to you. So first of all, to add a silent player to the ensemble, we can just use the computer instrument, which is a standard instrument in our palette, just like flute and oboe. So here you can see our ensemble consists of the flute and the oboe, which are the usual instruments, wind instruments that we'd expect in any orchestra. But then there's this CP player which plays a computer, and this is the virtual player that we'll be using for CLM play. Then, just like with any of the instruments in the ensemble, flute and oboe for example, we assign rhythm sequence IDs to the computer player so that rhythms will be used in that player's part and notes will be assigned to it. Then we can specify the computer as the player argument to CLM play. Usually we would specify a list of players to be used in the call to CLM play, but here we're supplying just one symbol, CP, for the computer part. So we're only interested in generating output for this computer player. If we then want to exclude computer parts from the MIDI and score output, we can, when calling the MIDI play function, use the voices argument to specify just the flute and oboe parts to be written, so the computer part will not be included in the output MIDI file. Similarly, we can use the player's argument for CMN display and write LP data for all to just have the flute and oboe parts written to the output score files. So this example shows us how to set this all up. Here's our ensemble with the flute and the oboe and the computer player. Our rhythm sequence map specifying the rhythm sequences to be used by the flute and the oboe and the computer part. We've got our sound file palette, which we've already seen in previous tutorials. Then we have our calls to MIDI play, CMN display, and write LP data for all that write the flute and oboe parts only, whereas the CLM play just writes the computer part. We'll finish this tutorial with a piece by Sean Reed called Second Law. This combines real instruments with sound files generated by the CLM play call. This was, of course, the whole point in me developing Slippery Chicken. I always, from the very beginning, wanted to combine instrumental scores with electronic resources created from the same data as the instrumental scores. And I think you'll hear very closely in this piece by Sean how the two really work together.